Every professional entering the real estate industry in Arizona must first understand the legal framework that governs how property is bought, sold, leased, and managed within the state. Arizona's real estate laws are derived from four major categories: constitutional law, statutory law, administrative code, and case law. Each of these areas forms a foundation that ensures fairness, consistency, and accountability in all real estate transactions. Understanding these categories allows a real estate licensee to act with confidence, stay compliant, and uphold the ethical and professional standards required under Arizona law. This module connects directly to what you learned in earlier lessons about the purpose of government regulation and the structure of Arizona's legal system. Now we move from that general understanding to the specific laws that directly affect the practice of real estate. Constitutional law. Constitutional law represents the highest level of authority in the United States. The U.S. Constitution provides the foundation for all other laws, while the Arizona Constitution provides state-specific provisions. Article 2 of the Arizona Constitution guarantees due process, equal protection, and the right to own property, fundamental principles that guide all real estate activities. For example, Article 2, Section 4 of the Arizona Constitution states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. In real estate, this means that no property can be taken or transferred without following the legal process. The concept of eminent domain, for instance, originates from constitutional authority, allowing the government to take private property for public use, but only with just compensation and proper notice. Constitutional law also protects against discrimination through both the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 2 of the Arizona Constitution, which reinforce that all individuals must be treated equally in matters involving property ownership and housing opportunities. Statutory law. Statutory law refers to written laws enacted by the Arizona legislature. These are codified in the Arizona Revised Statutes, ARS, specifically in Title 32, Chapter 20, which governs real estate licensing, education, and disciplinary actions. For example, ARS Section 32-2101 defines important terms such as broker, salesperson, and real estate. ARS Section 32-2153 outlines grounds for license suspension or revocation, while ARS Section 32-2151.01 sets forth detailed record-keeping requirements for brokers. Statutory law also establishes the Arizona Department of Real Estate, ADRE, and grants the Real Estate Commissioner authority to enforce real estate laws. These statutes are critical for agents and brokers because they describe what is lawful or unlawful conduct in real estate practice. Example: if a real estate agent fails to disclose a material defect in a home, this is a violation under ARS Section 32-2153A3, which prohibits dishonest or fraudulent conduct. The statute not only defines the act, but also provides the basis for disciplinary action by the ADRE, Administrative Code. While statutes define the law, the Arizona Administrative Code, AAC, provides the detailed rules and procedures necessary to implement those statutes. The ADRE enforces these rules, which are found under Title 4, Chapter 28 of the Arizona Administrative Code. For instance, R4-28-1101 outlines professional conduct standards for real estate licensees, requiring honesty, fairness, and disclosure of material facts. R4-28-1103 sets forth broker supervision and control requirements, ensuring brokers maintain oversight of their agents' activities. Administrative rules act as the how-to manual for statutory law. They specify how licensees must carry out their legal duties on a daily basis, from advertising to escrow management. Example: If a broker fails to review transaction documents within a reasonable time, this violates R4-28-1103, which can lead to disciplinary action by the ADRE, even if the statute itself does not specify this exact behavior. Case law. Case law, also known as common law, arises from judicial decisions made by Arizona courts. When courts interpret statutes, resolve disputes, or determine how the law applies to real-life situations, their rulings become precedents for future cases. For example, the Arizona Supreme Court case, Barnes v. Lopez, 1985, clarified that once a real estate contract is accepted, the seller cannot revoke the offer, as acceptance creates a binding contract. This interpretation helps guide brokers and agents on the legal effects of contract acceptance under Arizona real estate law. Another example, Hill v. Jones, 1986, established that sellers have a duty to disclose material defects that are not readily observable, such as termite damage. This case influences disclosure obligations under both statutory and administrative law. Case law ensures fairness and consistency by interpreting the meaning of statutes and rules in real-world scenarios. Review summary. In this lesson, you learned that Arizona real estate law is shaped by 4 key sources: constitutional law, the foundation of all other laws; protecting property rights and due process; statutory law, the written laws enacted by the Arizona legislature, primarily found in Title 32, Chapter 20 of the Arizona Revised Statutes; administrative code, the detailed rules created by the Arizona Department of Real Estate under Title 4, Chapter 28 of the Arizona Administrative Code; case law, the interpretation of laws through Arizona court decisions, which set precedents for future conduct and enforcement. Together, these sources form a unified framework that governs every aspect of real estate practice in Arizona, from licensing and education to consumer protection and ethical conduct. Discussion 1. Why is it important for real estate professionals to understand all 4 categories of law? Answer. Because each category defines different layers of authority. Constitutional protections ensure fairness. Statutes define what is lawful. Administrative codes guide professional behavior, and case law interprets how laws are applied in real scenarios. 2. How does case law affect the daily practice of real estate agents? Answer. Case law provides real-world interpretations of statutes and rules. When courts issue rulings, they set legal precedents that influence disclosure requirements, contract enforcement, and liability for agents. 3. Can an administrative rule ever conflict with a statute? Answer, no. Administrative rules must be consistent with statutory law. If there is a conflict, the statute prevails because it has higher legal authority. 4. What is an example of a constitutional principle that affects real estate law? Answer. The Due Process Clause ensures that property cannot be taken without proper legal procedures, which underpins laws on eminent domain and foreclosure. Closing remarks. Understanding the hierarchy of Arizona real estate law is like building a strong foundation before constructing a home. The Constitution establishes fundamental rights. Statutory law sets the framework for real estate practice. Administrative codes explain the procedures, and case law interprets how those rules apply in daily life. Every decision you make as a real estate professional should trace back to one or more of these sources. In the next module, we will explore how these legal sources translate into the structure and authority of the Arizona Department of Real Estate, the agency responsible for enforcing compliance and maintaining integrity within the profession.